Video guide covers the Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund, or COA LDRRMF, together with the Declaration of State of Calamity and the brand new Republic Act 12287 on State of Imminent Disaster, signed September 12, 2025. Please follow the slides on screen as this guide plays. This material has 17 sections. Please take a moment to read the table of contents on your screen. The discussion covers 17 sections: the legal framework, fund allocation and allowable uses, the 3 assessment tools, both types of disaster declaration, step-by-step guides, accounting, internal controls, misconceptions, the top 60 audit observations, and the compliance checklist. Before we begin, 9 issuances have been superseded and are excluded from this material. Presidential Decree 1566 is repealed. Republic Act 8185 is superseded. NDCC Memorandum Order No. 4, Series 1998, is superseded. Republic Act 9184, the old procurement law, has been fully replaced by Republic Act 12009. Please read the complete list on your screen. Section 1. The current legal framework. The 2 most important statutes are Republic Act 10121, the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010, and Republic Act 12287, the Declaration of State of Imminent Disaster Act, signed September 12, 2025. Republic Act 10121, Section 21, creates the Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund. Republic Act 12287 is the new law that allows declarations and fund releases before a disaster strikes. Please read the full table of statutes on your screen. The primary COA circular governing the fund is COA Circular No. 2012-002. It prescribes the budget codes, the 3 separate registries, the monthly report requirement, and the annual posting requirement. COA Memorandum No. 2014-009 is the audit guide. It is the basis for every notice of disallowance on the Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund. Please read the complete list on screen. Section 2. The Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund, Definition, Allocation, and Allowable Uses. Section 21 of Republic Act 10121 defines the fund as not less than 5% of estimated revenue from regular sources. Important, since the Mandanas ruling implemented in fiscal year 2022, the base is now the national tax allotment, all national taxes, not just the old internal revenue allotment. Local government units still computing on the old base are under allocating. Additionally, Republic Act 12287, Section 10, now authorizes the Special Trust Fund balance to be used for anticipatory action measures under a declared state of imminent disaster. There are now 3 scenarios for releasing the fund. First, a disaster has already occurred. Conduct RDANA, declare state of calamity, release quick response fund. Second, a disaster is imminent but has not yet struck. Conduct PDRA, declare state of imminent disaster under Republic Act 12287, release anticipatory action funds from the Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund and Special Trust Fund. Third, a higher-level declaration already covers the municipality. The Municipal Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office still conducts its own assessment to document local needs. In all 3 scenarios, every disbursement must have a plan basis, complete supporting documents, and proper procurement under Republic Act 12009. The 70% component covers prevention and mitigation, preparedness, and rehabilitation. The 30% Quick Response Fund covers relief and response. New under Republic Act 12287, Section 9, Subsection E, the fund now explicitly authorizes procuring, pre-positioning, and distributing food and non-food items to the forecasted affected population before a disaster occurs. This is a landmark provision. Previously there was no explicit legal basis for pre-disaster distribution of goods. Key non-allowable expenditures that will result in a notice of disallowance. personal services of any personnel charged directly to the fund. Salaries of the 4 mandatory local disaster risk reduction and management office positions go to the general fund. General administrative expenses of non-disaster related offices, entertainment or hospitality expenses, capital outlay not in the approved plan, and cash assistance for persons not documented as disaster affected or forecasted to be affected. Please read the full list on your screen. Section 3. The Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Organization, Council, Office, and Staffing. The Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council is required in every province, city, and municipality. It must meet at least 4 times per year, once every quarter. An LDRRMC that meets fewer than 4 times a year is a COA audit finding. The council is chaired by the local chief executive. Its key functions include approving the plan, monitoring fund use, and recommending declarations to the Sangunion. Please read the full composition on screen. The Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office is a mandatory office. It requires 4 plantilla positions, the Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Officer as head, and 3 staff for administration and training, research and planning, and operations and warning. Personal services of these 4 positions come from the General Fund, not the Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund. Only the maintenance, operating expenses, and capital outlay for implementing disaster programs are chargeable to the fund. The Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office has a legal duty to train others, not just receive training. Section 12, subsection C, number 4 of Republic Act 10121 mandates the office to organize, train, and directly supervise emergency response teams and accredited community disaster volunteers. Attending external programs is not enough. Every program charged to the fund must have a curriculum, an attendance sheet with original signatures, a report, date-stamped photographs, certificates, and evaluation forms. Section 4. The disaster plans, the Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Plan, the Investment Plan, the Contingency Plan, and the Annual Investment Program. The single most critical rule in fund management. The plan shall be the basis in the allocation of the fund. No approved plan, no valid expenditure. Under Republic Act 12287, Section 10, anticipatory action items must also appear in the plan and investment plan before funds can be released. The investment plan approval process is strict. The office prepares the draft. The council formally deliberates with signed minutes. The council endorses to the Local Development Council. It is integrated into the annual investment program. The Sangunion enacts the budget ordinance. Spending before amending the plan is spending without plan basis, that is a notice of disallowance. Section 5. The 3 assessment tools, RDANA, PDRA, and PDNA. RDANA, or Rapid Damage Assessment and Needs Analysis, is used 24 to 72 hours after a disaster occurs. It is based on actual damage. PDRA, or Pre-Disaster Risk Assessment, is used 24 to 72 hours before a predicted disaster. It is based on forecasted impacts using official science-based tools from PAGAR SA, 5 Volks, or the Mines and Geosciences Bureau. PDNA, or Post-Disaster Needs Assessment, is used 2 to 8 weeks after a major disaster for rehabilitation planning. Each tool has a different legal purpose and triggers different legal actions. Please see the comparison table on your screen. Section 6. State of Calamity, Republic Act 10121, declared after a disaster occurs. The state of calamity is defined as a condition involving mass casualty or major damage as a result of the occurrence of a hazard. The word occurrence is key. The disaster must have already taken place. There are 7 criteria, and only one needs to be satisfied. 15% of the affected population needs emergency assistance, or 30% of livelihoods are affected. or critical infrastructure is damaged beyond 1 week of disruption, or there is widespread agricultural destruction, or lifelines cannot be restored within 1 week, or there is an extreme disease outbreak, or there is significant environmental degradation. Please read all 7 criteria on your screen. Upon declaration, Section 17 of Republic Act 10121 makes mandatory price ceilings on basic goods, prevention of profiteering, reprogramming of funds for infrastructure repair, grant of no-interest loans, and emergency procurement under Republic Act 12009, Section 53. The declaration lasts 1 year or less. After 1 year without the Council finding recurring effects, it expires by operation of law. The most common shortfalls are no formal lifting resolution after recovery, missing monthly reports to OCD and the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, and procurement continuing under emergency mode after formal lifting. Section 7. State of Imminent Disaster, the brand new Republic Act 12287, declared before a disaster strikes. Republic Act 12287 defines a declaration of state of imminent disaster as a declaration made in anticipation of a highly probable disaster, based on forecast and pre-disaster risk assessment results. An imminent disaster is defined as a highly probable disaster with severe projected impacts. Severe means major, large-scale, possibly catastrophic damage with anticipated collapse of socio-economic systems. Anticipatory action means action taken to reduce humanitarian impacts of a forecasted hazard before it occurs. Section 5 of Republic Act 12287 provides that the President may declare nationally, and local chief executives may declare through an executive order, not a Sangunian resolution. The recommending body for the local chief executive is the Regional Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, not the local council. This is a critical difference from the state of calamity framework. 2 criteria must both be present. First, forecasted impacts classified as severe, and second, a lead time of at least 3 days. The declaration automatically lifts upon occurrence of the hazard, no Sangunian action needed to lift it. Section 9 of Republic Act 12287 authorizes pre-emptive or forced evacuation, mobilization of volunteers, procurement and distribution of food and non-food items to forecasted affected population, and social amelioration for the most vulnerable. Section 10 authorizes the Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund and the Special Trust Fund balance for these anticipatory actions. Disbursements must be graduated and proportionate to forecasted severity. The specific graduation schedule will be defined in the implementing rules and regulations. Section 11 says if the disaster does not occur, unused local government unit funds accrue back to the Special Trust Fund, and goods already procured are stored by the local Social Welfare and Development Office for future use. No refund is required. Section 12 of Republic Act 12287 prohibits malicious spreading of false hazard information and manipulation of assessment reports to support an improper declaration. The penalty under Section 13, a fine of 50,000 to 500,000 pesos, or 6 years and 1 day to 12 years imprisonment, or both, plus perpetual disqualification from public office for government offices. On the implementing rules and regulations, OCD completed the draft in October 2025. Please verify with OCD whether the implementing rules and regulations have been formally signed and published, as they will define the graduation schedule for disbursements. Section 8. The 2 declarations compared, side by side. The key differences: state of calamity is declared after a disaster. State of imminent disaster is declared before. State of calamity requires an RDANA showing actual damage. State of imminent disaster requires a PDRA showing severe forecasted impacts and a 3-day lead time. For state of calamity, the Sangunian passes a resolution. For state of imminent disaster, the local chief executive issues an executive order on regional council recommendation. The state of imminent disaster automatically lifts upon occurrence of the hazard. If the hazard does not occur, unused funds accrue back to the Special Trust Fund. Please read the complete comparison table on your screen. The two laws work in sequence. Before the disaster, Republic Act 12287 authorizes anticipatory actions. When the hazard actually strikes, the state of imminent disaster automatically lifts and Republic Act 10121 takes over. The Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office conducts RDANA. The Council recommends state of calamity. The Sangunian declares. Quick Response Fund is released. Weeks later, a PDNA is conducted for the rehabilitation plan. The entire cycle is legally integrated. Section 9. Cascading declarations, national, provincial, and municipal, and how they affect Quick Response Fund release. There are 5 scenarios. When the President declares nationally, municipalities within the covered area may release their Quick Response Fund without a separate local resolution, but a local RDANA is still required to document specific local needs and justify the amount. When the Governor declares provincially, the same applies. When the local Chief Executive declares locally under Republic Act 12287, the PDRA must come first. When the municipality declares its own state of calamity, the full local procedure applies. Key rule for all scenarios: the local assessment is non-negotiable. A higher-level declaration opens the legal door. It does not document local needs, determine local amounts, or identify local beneficiaries. Please read the table on your screen. When covered by a national or provincial declaration, the municipality is not legally required to pass its own resolution. However, passing a local adoption resolution is strongly recommended as best practice for audit documentation. The adoption resolution should reference the higher-level declaration and the local assessment, identify the specific amount to be released and activities to be funded, and be signed with a roll call vote. The local RDANA or PDRA must always be attached. Section 10. RDANA, the Rapid Damage Assessment and Needs Analysis, 22-Step Guide. The RDANA is the primary responsibility of the Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Officer, who must lead the team, certify all data, sign the final report, and submit it to the Council with a formal recommendation. The Social Welfare Officer, Agricultural Officer, Municipal Engineer, and Local Health Officer each certify their respective sections. The local Chief Executive certifies overall accuracy, but does not prepare the assessment. That is the office's function. Steps 1 through 12 cover preparation and field work. Step 1. Activate the office immediately. Step 2. Gather initial PAR-SA, 5 Volks, or Mines and Geosciences Bureau advisories before going to the field. Step 3. Prepare the official OCD assessment forms. Step 4. Organize multi-agency field teams per barangay cluster. Step 5. Bring a date stamp camera. This is non-negotiable. Steps 6 through 12. Brief the teams, coordinate with the Punon barangay, document affected population, inspect infrastructure damage, assess agricultural losses, count property damage, and assess lifeline disruption. Please read the detailed steps on your screen. Steps 13 through 22 cover completion and certification. Step 13. Take date-stamped photographs of every damage item. Photos without date stamps are rejected by COA. Step 14. Compute the 15% threshold using the science-based tool. Step 17. Identify which specific criterion is satisfied. Do not just say state of calamity is warranted. Step 20. The Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Officer signs and dates the report. This date becomes date 1 in the 3-date sequence. Step 21. Submit to the Council with a formal transmittal letter. Step 22. File the original permanently. Please read all steps on screen. The assessment report must contain the named disaster with date and type, the named science-based tool with its reference number, the tool document physically attached as an exhibit, the 15% threshold computation, Affected population data by barangay, infrastructure, agricultural, property, and lifeline damage, date-stamped photographs, and signatures of all required officers. The most common invalidating errors: no named science-based tool, report dated after the Sangguniang Resolution, which is falsification of a public document under Article 171 of the Revised Penal Code, and photographs without date stamps. COA auditors always verify 3 dates, and they must appear in this exact order. Date 1, the assessment date, the local disaster risk reduction and management officer signs the report. This must be the earliest date. Date 2, the council resolution recommending declaration, must come after date 1. Date 3, the Sangguniang resolution declaring state of calamity, must come last. Any reversal makes the declaration legally infirm and all quick response fund disbursements potentially disallowable. An assessment dated after the Sangguniang resolution is falsification under the Revised Penal Code, punishable by 6 to 12 years imprisonment. The same 3-date sequence applies to state of imminent disaster under Republic Act 12287, PDRA 1st, Regional Council Recommendation 2nd, Executive Order 3rd. Section 11. PDRA, the Pre-Disaster Risk Assessment, Step-by-Step Guide under Republic Act 12287. Republic Act 12287, Section 3, Subsection G, defines the PDRA as the process of evaluating a hazard's level of risk given exposure and vulnerability in a specific area. Section 6 requires the National or Regional Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council to conduct a PDRA as the basis for declaring a state of imminent disaster. The PDRA is triggered by a PAG-RSA tropical cyclone warning signal number 2 or higher, a 5 Oaks volcanic alert level 3 or higher, a Mines and Geosciences Bureau landslide warning, or an OCD PDRA bulletin. It must show that forecasted impacts are severe and that there is a lead time of at least 3 days. The PDRA procedure: monitor official advisories continuously, identify the threat using official hazard maps, estimate the population at risk by hazard zone, assess existing response capacities, determine if both criteria of Republic Act 12287, Section 6, are met, prepare the PDRA report, and submit with recommendations. Required contents of the PDRA report: the named predicted hazard with the advisory reference, the severity classification, the available lead time, hazard zones by specific barangay, population at risk including vulnerable groups, evacuation centers and routes, status of equipment and relief stocks, and recommended anticipatory actions. The PDRA must be dated before the Executive Order or Regional Council recommendation. Section 12. PDNA, the Post-Disaster Needs Assessment. The PDNA is conducted 2 to 8 weeks after a major disaster. It covers all 8 sectors: housing, education, health, agriculture, livelihoods, infrastructure, environment, and governance. It is led by NEDA with participation from national agencies and the local government unit. Its output is the Recovery and Rehabilitation Plan, which is the basis for Special Trust Fund rehabilitation disbursements and for requesting National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund augmentation per LDRRMC Memorandum Circular 110, Series 2021. Please read the detailed procedure and sector table on your screen. Section 13. Accounting and Reporting, COA Circular Number 2012-002, Complete Requirements. Budget Codes: Program 9940 for the Disaster Program, Subcode 941 for Quick Response Fund Relief, Subcode 942 for Preparedness Operating Expenses, Subcode 943 for Preparedness Capital Outlay, and Subcode 944 for Insurance Premiums. 3 separate registries must be maintained, 1 each for Quick Response Fund, Operating Expenses, and Capital Outlay. Do not commingle them. Year-end unexpended fund goes to the Special Trust Fund immediately via journal entry. After 5 years of non-utilization, the Special Trust Fund balance reverts to the General Fund. Republic Act 12287 adds a new rule. If the predicted hazard does not occur, unused anticipatory action funds accrue back to the Special Trust Fund, no refund required. For Quick Response Fund disbursements, you need the Sangunian Declaration Resolution, the Council Recommendation, the Assessment Report with correct date sequence, the Work and Financial Plan, a complete disbursement voucher, and, critically, a distribution list with original signatures or thumb marks and date-stamped photographs. For anticipatory action disbursements under Republic Act 12287, you need the Local Chief Executive Order, the PDRA, the investment plan showing the anticipatory action item, and documentation that disbursements were graduated and proportionate to forecasted severity. Please read the full document list on screen. The monthly report on sources and utilization must be submitted to the COA resident auditor by the 15th of each following month, every single month without exception. Copies go to OCD and the Department of Interior and Local Government. The annual utilization report must be posted on the local government website and in conspicuous places. Under Republic Act 12287, Section 8, OCD must be informed of the status of declarations, fund utilization, and estimated costs minimized during a declared state of imminent disaster. Section 14. Internal controls for the fund. The 12 key internal controls are plan-based disbursement, no plan, no payment, separation of duties across all accountable offices, assessment before declaration, proper declaration before fund release, graduated and proportionate disbursement under Republic Act 12287, complete documentation before every payment, proper procurement under Republic Act 12009, property accountability for every piece of equipment, monthly reporting to COA, and proper special trust fund accounting. Please read the complete table on your screen. Section 15. Common misconceptions and the correct rule. 7 corrections. 1. The fund is not a discretionary fund. 2. A calamity declaration does not automatically validate every expenditure. 3. The Quick Response Fund can now also be released before a disaster, under a state of imminent disaster declaration per Republic Act 12287. 4. A PDRA can support a calamity declaration per LDRRMC Memorandum Order 60, Series 2019, but Republic Act 12287 creates a separate declaration type specifically for pre-disaster situations. 5. If the predicted disaster does not occur, unused local government unit funds accrue to the Special Trust Fund, not refunded. 6. Year-end unused fund goes to the Special Trust Fund for 5 years, not to the General Fund. 7. The 5% is a minimum, not a ceiling. 7 more. 8. Republic Act 12287 requires a PDRA. The local chief executive cannot declare without it. 9. The recommending body under Republic Act 12287 is the Regional Council, not the Local Council. 10. The Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office must train others, not just attend sessions. 11. Low utilization is an audit finding. COA 2024 cited 70 local government units for utilization rates as low as 1.41%. 12. A state of calamity expires after 1 year without the Council finding recurring effects. The state of imminent disaster automatically lifts upon occurrence of the hazard. 13. Distributing goods before a disaster is now explicitly authorized by Republic Act 12287, Section 9, Subsection E. 14. Goods already procured but unused when the hazard does not occur are stored by the local Social Welfare and Development Office, they are not returned. Section 16. The top 60 COA Audit Observations on the Fund. The 60 observations come from COA Memorandum No. 2014-009, the COA 2014 Consolidated Audit Report, the COA 2020 Disaster Audit Report, the COA 2024 Special Audit Report covering 70 local government units and field experience. They are organized into 8 groups: planning, organization, declaration, quick response fund, utilization, accounting, reporting, and procurement. COA performs post-audit only. The local government unit is fully accountable for every disbursement before the audit visit. Group A, Planning Observations 1 through 8. The most common: no plan prepared or not updated, plan not integrated into the Comprehensive Development Plan and Comprehensive Land Use Plan, no investment plan prepared without council deliberation minutes, investment plan not in the annual investment program, spending before plan amendment, and, new under Republic Act 12287, anticipatory action items not included in the plan. Each of these is a notice of disallowance for related disbursements. Please read the details on screen. Group B, Organization and Office Performance, Observations 9 through 17. Key findings: office not established by Sangunian Ordinance, positions filled by unqualified persons, personal services charged to the fund. No training conducted for barangay disaster committees or community disaster volunteers during the entire audit year. No simulation exercises, no community disaster volunteers organized or accredited, and barangay disaster committees not constituted in all barangays. Please read the details on screen. Group C, Declaration, Observations 18 through 25. The most serious: no assessment before the Sangunian resolution, assessment dated after the resolution, which is falsification, 15% threshold not established with a named science-based tool, state of calamity declared without any actual disaster, no council recommendation, no adoption resolution when covered by higher level declaration, no formal lifting after recovery, and monthly reports not submitted to OCD and the National Council. Any of these exposes all quick response fund disbursements to disallowance. Group D, Quick Response Fund and Anticipatory Actions, Observations 26 through 32. COA 2020 cited 27 local government units for procuring relief goods before any declaration. Other findings: no distribution list with original signatures, goods delivered without an inspection and acceptance report, cash assistance without a certified payroll, quick response fund used with no disaster nexus. 2 new observations under Republic Act 12287. Anticipatory action funds released without a declared state of imminent disaster or without a PDRA showing severe impacts, and disbursements not graduated and proportionate to forecasted severity. Group E, Utilization, Observations 33 through 43. Key findings: spending on items not in the approved plan, funded projects with zero accomplishment, money paid, nothing delivered, projects partially implemented, training without complete documentation, equipment procured but never deployed, infrastructure repair for damage not caused by calamity, uniforms for non-office employees, low utilization rate, social programs without disaster nexus, and double charging the same project to 2 funds. Please read the details on screen. Group F, Accounting and Special Trust Fund, Observations 44 through 51. Key findings: year-end unused fund not transferred to the Special Trust Fund. Special Trust Fund balances older than 5 years not reverted to the General Fund. Special Trust Fund used for non-disaster purposes. New items charged to the Special Trust Fund without a Sangunian Ordinance. New under Republic Act 12287. Unused anticipatory action funds not accrued back to the Special Trust Fund when the hazard did not occur. Registries commingled, and realignment done through a mayor's memo instead of a Sangunian Ordinance. Group G, Reporting, Observations 52 through 57. Monthly report not submitted by the 15th. Annual report not posted on the website or conspicuous places. New under Republic Act 12287. No report submitted to OCD on anticipatory action utilization. 90% of prior recommendations not implemented per COA 2020. Group H, Procurement, Observations 58 through 60. Emergency procurement without a named declared disaster. Post-award report to COA not submitted within 5 days. And infrastructure projects without a complete program of work, unit price analysis, inspection reports, or certificate of completion. Bottom line, under Presidential Decree 1445, Section 103, the approving officer, certifying officer, and payee are solidarily and personally liable for every disallowed peso. Section 17. The Compliance Checklist, 38 items. Items 1 through 10 cover planning and organization. A no answer in any item is a potential audit finding. Item 1. Plan prepared, council approved, integrated into the Comprehensive Development Plan and Comprehensive Land Use Plan. Item 2. Plan includes anticipatory action items under Republic Act 12287. Item 3. Plan annually reviewed. Item 4. Investment plan prepared annually with quick response fund lump sum and itemized 70% items. Item 5. Investment plan formally deliberated by council with signed minutes. Items 6 through 10 cover the contingency plan, amendment sequence, establishment by ordinance, qualified staffing, and personal services charged to the general fund. Please read the complete list on screen. Items 11 through 21 cover organization and declarations. The key items: Council meets at least 4 times per year. The office conducts training for barangay disaster committees and community disaster volunteers annually. Community disaster volunteers organized and insured. Barangay disaster committees in all barangays. Assessment conducted before declaration with the 3-date sequence verified. At least 1 criterion satisfied with a named science-based tool. Council recommendation before Sangguniang Acts. Sangguniang resolution contains all mandatory elements. Declaration immediately furnished to the Regional Council and National Council. Monthly reports submitted. State of calamity formally lifted after recovery. And PDRA conducted before the local chief executive order under Republic Act 12287. Items 22 through 30 cover Republic Act 12287 and the Quick Response Fund. Local Chief Executive Order declaring state of imminent disaster with PDRA attached. Disbursements graduated and proportionate with documented basis. If hazard does not occur, unused funds accrued to Special Trust Fund, goods stored by the local Social Welfare and Development Office, OCD notified. Declaration or executive order exists before fund release. Distribution list with original signatures and date stamped photographs. Goods delivered with a signed inspection and acceptance report. All 70% items in approved plan and annual investment program before disbursement. Complete training documentation. Equipment with inspection and acceptance report, property acknowledgement receipt, and annual inventory. Final items 31 through 38. Emergency procurement with a named declared disaster, items directly necessary, and post-award report to COA within 5 days. 3 separate registries: Quick Response Fund, Operating Expenses, and Capital Outlay, no commingling. Correct budget codes 9940 with subcodes 1 through 4. Year-end balance transferred to Special Trust Fund. 5-year-old balances reverted to General Fund. Unused anticipatory action funds accrued back to Special Trust Fund. Cash donations in a separate bank account. Monthly report by the 15th to COA, OCD, and the Department of Interior and Local Government. Report to OCD on anticipatory action declarations under Republic Act 12287. Annual report posted online and on premises. Prior COA recommendations implemented. Every peso of the Local Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund carries a promise. Republic Act 10121 gives local government units the tools to respond after a disaster strikes. Republic Act 12287 gives them the tools to act before one strikes. Together, they represent the full commitment of the state to protect its people across the entire disaster cycle. Section 2, Subsection P of Republic Act 10121. Provide maximum care, assistance, and services to individuals and families affected by disaster. Section 2, Subsection B of Republic Act 12287. Provide maximum care and services to individuals and families to be affected by a disaster. That is the purpose of every peso in this fund, a kept promise to the people you serve.